the new standard in performance and safety. At $35,490 fully equipped and 7-year warranty, the all-new MG HS is value you've never seen before.
Sunday Dech, welcome to Gibbo Goes One-on-One, driven by MG. Mate, I want to start about you growing up as a childhood. Born in South Sudan. I think you moved when you were 6 to Perth. Obviously, you probably get asked this a lot, but have you been able to be back? Do you remember much of your childhood living in Sudan? And is that something maybe you want to do in the future, to go back and see where you kind of grew up?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question, Gibbo. It's an awesome one. It's definitely something I do want to do. I haven't had the opportunity as of yet. Just growing up as a kid, you've got school, sport, just other commitments here that, haven't been able to get the timing right. But my parents have been back ever since 2010, and, they want to get the opportunity for all of us to go back at once, so then they can kind of show us around, because it's, they are probably our tour guide when we get back there. But no, it's definitely something I want to do. But as far as remembering, I don't remember much of it, which is weird, because I think your memories as a kid start when you're 4 years old. So I remember bits and pieces, but as far as I'm concerned, my whole childhood and everything was through Perth, Western Australia.
Growing up with brothers and sisters, you're one of 7 kids, which is, it's a fairly big number. I've got one of each. I remember our battles in our backyard. I'm the youngest of our family, and the battles you have in the backyard and the fights you kind of get into, like, it must have been awesome to have that many brothers and sisters growing up to compete with and have fun with as a kid.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I think you get a best friend from when you're a baby onwards, and those relationships are really important, just helping navigate you through those younger years. We kind of took care of each other just through sport, through schooling. If you had any issues, you just went to your brothers and sisters before you went to the folks. But the competitions were fierce. Me and my older brother went head to head for a lot of the years, and kind of just gave me my toughness. And as a kid, you kind of grow up to fend for yourself when you've got a lot of brothers and sisters. And another thing as well, just we're really close and we communicate every day, and on matters, basketball, life. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Now, I'm assuming, like most athletes, you would have been good at a lot of sports. Why did you choose basketball? Why was basketball the sport you chose to try and make a profession out of, obviously now, but kind of growing up, there would have been a point where you had to make that decision. Why did you choose basketball, and how did that all kind of start the love for the game?
Yeah, no, I think basketball came on later on in life, honestly. Growing up, like you said, played a variety of sports, was pretty athletic as a kid, but footy was my first love. Fell in love with AFL, and that's something I wanted to pursue professionally, but it just kind of got really serious early on, and I want to really enjoy high school and hanging out with mates. So I stopped that when I was 14, 15, and then I was outside one day and it got too hot to, play footy, skate and stuff. And then my brother invited me to the courts. I was 16 years old, and I was like, I'll give it a crack. And it was so much fun because I was fitter than everyone. All I had to do was just run in a straight line and get layups, and then just stay in front of the other guy, make sure he didn't score, and then just fell in love with it right away. And that year, I found my junior club, East Perth. It was 2 weeks when I started before they had their, wobble tryouts, which is a junior competition in WA, and then kind of just took off from there.
Growing up in Perth, obviously a big football town, is the West Coast or Fremantle one of your favourite teams? And obviously you're playing football. Obviously, you're still young, you're fit and strong, but do you think that's why you have such a good engine, a good cardio kind of system? Because on the football field, you probably run 15 Ks a game, whereas basketball, maybe 4 or 5. Do you think that made a big impact in getting your body right and being able to be fit and run out games? Do you think that's probably helped?
Yeah, it definitely did. I think there's a lot of similarities in football and basketball in terms of cardio, zones, reading the play and stuff like that. So a lot of that transition for me, which I was able to pick up really quickly, but the biggest thing was just the motor. I'm able to play all game and defend at a high level, because defense is, a lot of the time it's effort, and as you get to the high levels, it's a lot of technique and, tips and tricks, as you would know. And fortunate enough to learn from Damo all those years, which was awesome. But no, it really did help me transition, because my coach was like, hey, look, just get on your right hand, dribble it straight, and get as many layups as you can. And then on the defensive end was just kind of just mirror their feet and stay in front of them. So I was fortunate to play football. And like you said earlier, just a lot of sports as a kid, they all kind of mesh into one over the years.
Now, I know you're stuck in Melbourne like I am in isolation. It's
Yeah.
probably one of the worst times because you can't leave the house. And I'm sure for you probably want to get out and do more. The NBA's been on the last however long back on TV. Finals have just started. I know you've been watching, but that's obviously something to take a few hours out of the day. Do you have a favourite team? And have you kind of been watching that stuff? And what else have you been doing during this period? Obviously being stuck at home for majority of the day.
Yeah, mate, like yourself, just been stuck at home. It's been driving us crazy. I know I was training with you a fair bit with the Phoenix beforehand, and that was awesome. You know, can't thank Simon and your management enough for allowing myself and other guys to come in and do that. But no, basketball's been awesome, and having the NBA back is money because we're able to watch the highest guys compete at the highest level, and they're in different circumstances as well with the bubble. As of teams, I'm not sure. I've got my team got knocked out. I'm a New York Knicks fan, so that's over with. But one of my favorite players is Kawhi. So just watching him and the Clippers play in this bubble has been wonderful because just their tenacity on defense and their ability to put points on the boards has been unreal. And that's a team I hope that wins the championship this year.
Is he like? Have you had an idol growing up? Australian players, South Sudanese player, NBA player that you kind of admire, have kind of watched and tried to mold your game around at all? Or you obviously said Kawhi, but has there been anyone else that you kind of are like, man, that's kind of where I would like to be?
Yeah, no, definitely. Kawhi was definitely one of them growing up. And then another one I really loved to watch was Jason Kidd.
Yep.
You know, I got the tail end of his career, but when I first started, you know, just watching old highlights and old games, which my brother made me sit down and watch. You know, as a kid, you don't really understand how important game film is, and kind of he used to make me sit there and watch him nonstop. I'm like, man, I'm sick of this. I just want to go outside and play. And he goes, no, like, watch him. You know, this is guys similar build to you. You know, got similar characteristics, and obviously you got to work on your skill level to get there. But really enjoyed watching him. And then another one was Baron Davis.
Love BD. I've got his singlet from New Orleans, I think it is.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite players because stockier, like kind of thicker, kind of stronger point guard, but could do a bit of everything. He was definitely one of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about growing up in Perth. Like I said before, it's a bit of a football town, but also the Wildcats kind of reign supreme. Obviously, the run they've had in however many years of making finals, obviously living in Perth from a young age, loving basketball. I'm assuming they were somewhere that you wanted to be and obviously you're a part of. But talk to me about growing up and just did you go and watch their games as a kid, watch them on TV? Obviously, the hype around the town and stuff would have been fun to be around as well.
Yeah, no, you're definitely true. I think Perth's just a big sports crazy city. Got the West Coast, Freo, the Wildcats, just a lot of top-notch quality teams. But yeah, you are the Wildcats are the top right there. And growing up, you idolize them because of just the winning culture and the aura they had about them. Because, you know, when you went to a game, you knew something special was going to happen, whether that was from that team or the opposing team, just because when guys came in there, they just gave it their best shot. And my first game remembering was just going when they'd first moved to Perth Arena. First time I went and watched them play. And I was just like, Jesus, you know, I had nosebleed seats. I was there with one of my family friends and a few other mates. And it was just like, how cool is this, you know? That was in 2012. So I was like, far out, man. I'd love to get out there one day. And then a year later, I was just fortunate to be a part of the team and, you know, that championship run there with Coach Trevor and James Ennis and Damo and all those guys again. So, no, it's definitely something you growing up in Perth as a basketball fan, you definitely want to be a part of. And to get the inside and join the team the following years was something super special to me because I learned a lot from them on and off the court and just how you carry yourself as a professional, you know, because there's a lot that goes into it and trying to be the best athlete you can and a lot of taking care of your body and stuff like that. And I think they a big thing of mine was just junk food and soft drinks, which they quickly cut out. And, you know, obviously it's paid dividends now.
Talk to me about how you first, like how were you invited to, whether you trained to start with? Obviously you're a DP, I think in 2014, but how did you first become a Wildcat, you know, training player or member of that squad? Did someone invite you? Did someone see you? I know you were playing SBL that same year. Is that where it kind of started?
Yeah, no, I definitely did. And that was my first year of SBL. And Coach Trevor's first year in Perth as well. He'd just been signed, and he was coming down to watch a teammate of mine, Tommy Jervis, play. They needed a backup centre to Matty Knight, and they got wind of Tommy, and Coach Adam Ford was coaching us at the time. And we had a game down in Bunbury, which he came down to watch Tommy play. And, I think he just saw my ability to be able to defend and stay in front of guys, but also just give it a crack down the other end, and just raw talent, which he thought, he could mold, and invited me down to development player tryouts the following week, which kind of goes through a cutting process. And was fortunate to make the last cut and be a DP that year. And I think that was a year like my development just shot through the roof. I learned so much because you're in and around greatness every single day. And that was kind of my start into the Wildcats, which then followed on to a second DP year before I went over to college in America.
2014, you were DP. You won the championship with the SBL team. And then you won the championship, or part of the team with the Wildcats. That must have been pretty special. Your first year into not only win at the state league, but also with the Wildcats as well. That must have been a pretty special year to think 2 years ago you're sitting in the crowd watching the team, and now you're on court running around with them, being a part of a championship. That must have been a pretty special year to start out.
It definitely was. That was something really special, but it kind of set me up, honestly. It kind of got me used to winning and just hungry for more. And I think even now, like when we lose, I just get so upset and get so frustrated. As all athletes, you think back like, what could I have done to help us win here and there? But, about that, it's just all about the process, and that's kind of what they preached. And we're fortunate to win SBL and NBL that year, but both teams had similar identities in it's the work you do every single day. It doesn't just happen on game nights. It's you build the foundation early on in preseason, and you just build on it every single day.
I think I won a championship my second season, and then my fourth season, and then haven't won since, like 10, 11 years later. So you're right. You get set up, like you win early, and then you're like, man, this is easy. And then it can't, obviously not for Perth because they've had an incredible run, but you obviously with the team for a while, and then you must have been disappointed, one, not to gain an actual contractor spot, but I think in 2019, I think Damo got injured. You were brought in as a replacement player, now a part of the actual group. And then to win that championship that year, that must have been special, having a bigger role, no longer a training guy or a DP, actually being brought into that group. That must have been awesome as well.
It was. I think coming back from college, guys just have this, idea that, hey, look, I'm going to get a contract right away. And that wasn't the case. And it's tough. The NBL is a small market with 9 teams now. And it's tough to get contracts because there's guys who can play and guys who are, made their foothold in the league. So coming back, I was a bit unlucky there, but, went back to Perth, and the coach and front office were like, hey, we can't offer you a contract, but, what we can offer you is a training spot, and, work your way in. You never know, injuries could happen, it may not happen, but at least you'll be here, and, you'll be the first off the list if that happens. And, unfortunately injury happens, but through that comes opportunity. And I was fortunate to grab mine with Damo and Mitch going down a couple of times during that year. And what started out as, hey, look, you may play one game, ended up playing like 14, 15 games that year. And that championship was even more special because obviously I'd contributed a bit more, and I think I had a pretty good final series, which kind of led on to the next journey with Illawarra.
Well, that's right. It's all about opportunity, right? And if you take your opportunity, now look at you, you're a starter on teams, and I'm assuming you probably start in Adelaide, but that's what it's all about. You just keep working hard like you obviously did, and then something happens. Obviously you don't want anyone to get injured, but that's just the industry we're in. And then before you know it, you're a massive piece of teams.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, man. I think it was that series we played against you guys in Brisbane. That was a series I kind of got a bit more burned than usual and kind of played a bit more minutes. So that was kind of turning for my career, I think.
Do you remember your first game? You remember the first time you stepped on the floor? Like, I'm assuming you're probably a little bit nervous, but you remember the very first game that you actually got in and played and were a part of a game?
Yeah, I do. It was January 2014. Stepped in the court, it was in the fourth quarter. It was a blowout win, but I was, just so nervous because I've never played in front of that many people. But, you kind of have a moment and you're just like, wow, look at this. This is so cool. But then, as all athletes do, you kind of just flick that switch and now you're in the game and you kind of have to just lock in and what's in front of you. But yeah, you're definitely right. It was nerve-wracking that first time for sure.
You mentioned Adam Ford before. I'm assuming he's played a fairly big role in obviously helping you get to the Wildcats, being your coach of the SBL team. But has he played a fair part in helping you out in your NBL kind of career?
Huge journey. I'd be downplaying it if with what I say right now, but he was there from, I think, the second or third week I started playing basketball. So imagine just this footy kid on the court trying to play basketball. Not very good, but obviously he saw something in me and just worked with me all those years. I remember during SBO, I'd stay behind, come in early. Same thing at the Wildcats. And even when I was in college, he'd flew over there a couple of times on holiday and came and watched a few games and worked me out there. And then our relationship, continues today. We talk weekly, catch up, talk basketball, and just about life, and he's just been a friend, a mentor, and someone who's kind of helped me during this journey. And yeah, I wouldn't be here without him for sure, because putting a lot of hours into my development as a player.
Obviously, your offensive game's progressed a fair bit since starting out, and I'll get to your work you did in Illawarra. But being a footballer, how I started, I wasn't very skilled, but I was a little nuggety, like football that bump and shoulder and get down and dirty. And the NBL was umpired, refereed a lot different back when I started. You get away with a lot more contact back then. It was a lot more physical. But you mentioned Damo. I'm assuming he's probably been a big part of helping you with tricks and just watching him play defense on a weekly basis must have been a big help for you, being a great defender already.
Yeah, no, I think when I first stepped foot at the Wildcats, he was kind of, I watched for the first week, you're kind of a bit raw, you don't understand what's going on. But then I just watched him, how he conducted himself. And on the court, I think he's one of the few guys I've ever watched affect a game and training in like that much without needing the ball to score, And I was kind of like, hey, look, I think I've got the ability to be able to do that one day. So he took me under his wing, and all those years under him, you learn a lot of tips and tricks. And, if it's not a foul unless the ref calls it. So that's the favorite one of mine. But just that guidance over the years really helped me to blossom into the defender I am today, and potentially even more. I think I've still got a lot more room to grow, and just understanding game situation, the refs, and, just the whole scheme of it. So that comes with a lot more experience and more game time under the belt. But with him retiring and the award named after him, rightfully so, I hope I'm in contention to be winning that next season.
For sure. It's awesome. It's a massive goal. It's something I'm going to set my hat to try and win it now that he's gone, and someone else can have a crack at the title to try and win it. Now, Wikipedia says you're 6'5". Now, is this a little bit, is this true? 6'5". I know you're fairly tall, but I don't know if you're 6'5". What you've been a point guard, bit of a combo guard. Do you have a preferred position? I know when I started out, I was a point guard, and then bit more too once my offensive game kind of evolved and playing alongside smaller, more dynamic point guards. But do you have a favorite position, or where do you see yourself as best suited on court?
Yeah, well, let's hash out the height dilemma first. I think that's a college height profile there. When I went over, I had a flat top, so I had a bit more hair, and the coach looks at you, he's like, yeah, you're about 6'5". I'm like, yeah, look, I'll take it. But no, realistically, I'm about 6'3", 6'4" in shoes. So a little bit taller than you. We matched up a little bit there.
A little bit.
But no, I think in terms of position, I started out on the wing, the 3-4 as a junior. And then as my skills developed and got like lower down the list in terms of like 2 and 1. But ideally, I think right now I'm probably a 2-1. There's this whole term positionless basketball, and that's kind of the new norm now. But, if you're going to put a number on me, I think 2 first and then 1 second. I think I still need to keep developing my playmaking for other guys. And, obviously you play the point guard, so you understand how much of a responsibility that is to get all your teammates involved. And I don't think I'm quite there yet, but that's something I do want to keep working on, and which I have been this summer. So I think next season will be awesome for me to get out there and test it.
Well, it makes your team so much better when you have a 2-man that can play the one and play both positions and just share the workload. And it's harder to defend against because you can't just try and trap one person. So it's a massive advantage, and you'll definitely be valuable to teams throughout your whole career because you can play both positions and play defense. 2019, so you won the championship with Perth. You went to Wellington, won another championship year. So you have a little method of winning NBL championships with state leagues. How was your time in New Zealand? I think Ruben was a part of that group. Obviously, Wellington always stack up their teams, but how was your time, going over there and playing in Welly?
I love my time in New Zealand. I think that was after the Perth year. You kind of never know when you're going to play the game until a day or two before. Whereas in New Zealand, you kind of solid season of just playing against high level competition. And you're right, we had a stacked team. I think that year I'll name our starting 7. So we had Shea Ely at the point guard, Jordan Artai at the 2, Ruben at the 3, Nick Kay at the 4, Rob Lowe at the 5. I was first off the bench, and then Leon Henry. So I think that team chucked in a couple of imports and would compete, But no, it was an awesome experience because just with that caliber of players, just be able to get into so much quality training as well, which was I enjoyed it the most. I was going up against guys who were proven NBL players and guys who were like legit players. So I was able to get that much better, and which kind of set me up for the NBL season because you kind of go in there hitting the floor running rather than, how some state leagues meant to be. The competition, it's hit and miss sometimes, whereas it was quality night in and night out. And we went undefeated, but had its challenges because, when you're one of the top teams, you get everyone's best crack, which was the case. So we had to bring it every single night.
That team's probably going to win an NBL championship, let alone in New Zealand. Like, that is an unbelievable lineup of players. Like, Leon Henry was a stud back when he was playing in the NBL as well. So that's a solid 7 that, like you said, throwing a couple of imports, and that's winning a lot of NBL games. Yeah.
Oh, just to add to that as well, we added Tom Abercrombie halfway through the year, which, obviously, who he is, and he's a proven legend of the league. And Paulie Henare was just unreal with coaching that team because obviously with a team that stacked, you're going to have to manage minutes, manage the style of play and everything like that. But he hit nail on the head, which he was able to get us all to gel and mesh together like seamlessly from day one. So I just can't thank him enough on the work he did behind the scenes.
From all reports, Paulie Henare is like an unbelievable coach. Should still be coaching here. Obviously, he's coaching overseas, but he was a tough player, like unbelievable defender, just leader, everything. So that must have been, I've heard great things about Paulie. I wish I had some time with Paulie when I'm still playing now, but from all reports, he was an unbelievable coach. And that squad, adding Tom Abercrombie, is winning even more games. You obviously signed with Illawarra, the Hawks. Tell me about your time there, overall experience, and then I'll get to some more questions about LaMelo and whatnot. But you first, obviously proper contracted player and your time in Illawarra.
Yeah, I think I loved my time in Illawarra. Just, it was such a roller coaster year, but we learnt so much in one season. So many highs, so many lows, and everything in between. But as a player, it's kind of, for me personally, it was just the development I needed to be able to experience that, because like we talked about earlier, experience in this game is invaluable, and that was something that I'll cherish going forward to Adelaide and beyond. But yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind. I signed there pretty early on, just wanting more opportunity to play and showcase my talent. But then the roster we put together, I was 3rd, 4th, 5th string guard. So it was hard to get minutes, and especially behind Aaron Brooks and LaMelo Ball, who are, legitimate NBA caliber players. And Aaron Brooks, who played, 12 plus years in the NBA. So it was tough to get in the rotation early, but I think, we stuck together, stuck with the process. And Aaron Brooks was so instrumental in just my continued development, because it's very easy in those situations just to hang your head and be like, all right, that's it. I won't get my opportunity. And when you do, you blow it, But he would always say, no, stay ready, stay in the gym. You never know when your chance is going to come. And early on, I'd play bits and pieces and, show a little bit, which earned me a bit more minutes for the next game, showed a bit more, earned a bit more minutes that way. And then unfortunately, he went down with injury about 10 games in. And like we talked about earlier, you never want to wish injury upon anyone, but that does give an opportunity for someone else to step up. And after he went down, I saw, all right, look, this is my chance here to show what I can do, and had a really good next outing and never looked back really. So that's just where the confidence grew, and, you trust the work you put in beforehand and all those years leading up to it. And yeah, I was able to have a great second half of the year, on the court, but it was off the court where I learnt the most. You get around a group of guys, and when everyone's winning, everything goes well. But it's when you're losing, that's when the true test of character is. And no one, our group stayed solid. You know, no one broke off, not even once. And kind of just a testament to the guys who were around and, you know, Coach Flynn keeping everyone together.
You don't get anything without hard work, and all athletes obviously put in time, but it was fairly well documented. You guys were doing some late night workouts with Jermaine Jackson Jr., with obviously LaMelo. Like, tell me through those workouts. Was it those guys and you kind of just wanted to jump on board, or was it something that, you know, how did those late night workouts come about, and a little bit of information around those workouts?
Yeah, so I think Melo and JJ, it's obviously what they did beforehand, before coming to Illawarra, and it's something they just continue to do. And early on, I wasn't playing, so I was just trying to find any opportunity to get some more work in and trying to get better. And he invited me down to one session, and it's, when he invites you down, it's not something you say no to. And the first session was at midnight, I think. And we had training the next morning at 8 a.m. And I was kind of looked at the clock and I was like, yeah, I'm going down. So thank God in Wollongong, everything's close together. So the training facility was just 5 minutes up the road. But I went down, you know, worked out with them, and, you know, they liked obviously having another teammate there, but it was really cool because you're working on skill and just everything. And I was able to keep just growing confidence and keep getting better. And then they became more frequent as we progressed in our season. And, you know, just, I think that kind of helped my confidence when I did play as well, because I was like, hey, look, I'm putting in the work, you know, no matter what's happening on the court or game night, I know I'm ready. And when that chance comes, I'm just ready to grab it.
Obviously, you know, when you work on, you know, different ball, it looked like a lot of ball handling, a lot of playing with the ball. So when you get into a game, you get trapped, or, you know, you see different situations in the game. Obviously, if you've worked on them, you know, at practice, at night, in these sessions, and it becomes second nature. So that must have been a massive help to be in game and know that you've done these moves before.
It really was. And I think that stuff didn't come to fruition for me until later on in the season, when I was asked to do a lot more of the ball handling and play a lot more of the one. But, you know, just talking to JJ, he was like, hey, look, work on it, because this is stuff you're always going to need. And, you know, like, you just hit on it when you're getting trapped and you're getting harassed because you're the last guy off the bench. You know, guys like start licking their chops like, all right, we can get after him. But, you know, I was able to get more and more comfortable as the season went on. And, you know, working on it did give me more confidence to be able to, you know, in games, trust my abilities and, you know, get to spots that I wanted to get to. So, yeah, you're right. It definitely was important to work on it then and in trainings as well.
Obviously, LaMelo was a massive show. He's an unbelievable basketball player. He'll probably be number one NBA pick. Talk to me about everything else. I've talked to Emmett. I've talked to Timmy Conrad. Timmy was telling me there'd be signing sessions and there'd be like 100 people in line for LaMelo, and you guys, Timmy would be off by his side, just chilling, sitting on a chair. Like, talk to me about the whole LaMelo show. And obviously there was probably a lot going on, but it would have been fun to be around, but probably a little distracting at times as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, just now that we have an opportunity to sit back and look on it, it was unreal. You know, it's crazy to think that years from now we can be like, hey, look, we played with LaMelo, you know, and he came to the NBL. But when you're going through it, you kind of just don't know much different. You know, it's kind of just your day-to-day life, and we got used to it. But yeah, it's definitely something that was just unreal experience. And him off the court, he was just a legend. Just a kid who enjoyed playing basketball, and I roomed with him on the road, so I kind of got the inside scoop of him as a person. Be hearing him on his phone to his dad and family often. And look, LeVar's probably the most motivational speaker I've ever met in my life. But no, Melo was just awesome to have around the group as the year went on, because he's just super positive. Never had anything bad to say about anyone, or wasn't really ever down at all. Just kind of brought energy to the group. And, you know, when you're losing, that's something you need. You need someone to come in and just be positive and kind of lift the group. And that was just him. And it's weird to think that he has that lifestyle, you know, and Timmy touched on it with the signing sessions, with the fans. Being able to, being in that limelight 24/7 must get exhausting. And, you know, would ask him multiple times and he'd be like, no, this is life. You know, I've been like this since I was 12, 13 years old. So I don't really know any different, which is crazy to think that someone actually lives like that. So whenever he would get some downtime, he would literally just play video games and just be on the phones or FaceTiming his family back home.
It must have been, yeah, like you said, you probably look back 10 years from now when he's best player in the world and just be, you know, laugh at some stories or some stuff he used to do with the Hawks. Now, you obviously spend a lot of time on court, probably a fair bit of time in the gym, keeping your body right. Former teammate Dan Greeter asked, how do you get such big muscles?
Great. Look, man, I'm blessed with some pretty good genetics, to be honest. I like lifting, but it's not my number one thing to do. I'm more of a stretcher and kind of maintaining and doing yoga and Pilates, because you kind of got to balance the two. You can't lift a lot of weights and not take care of your body that way. But look, a lot of push-ups as a kid, and like yourself, you know how the footy grind is. So you kind of stay strong and fit, and that just helped me in the court.
Love it. Now, obviously, the Hawks they've hired, I think, probably the best coach to ever coach in Australia in the NBL, Brian Gorge, and obviously they're making a lot of changes. You've made the decision to move and go to Adelaide, which is an unbelievable place to play basketball. Was there an option to stay? Because I know you were working out with Gorge a fair bit in the kind of Boomers workouts. Was it just something that you just wanted to go to Adelaide and have a bigger role again, or talk me through the decision to go to Adelaide? I mean, maybe it wasn't an opportunity to stay in Illawarra.
Yeah, no, there was definitely an opportunity to stay, and when the season finished, it was it was time to exhale a little bit and see where the pieces fell. And Hawks were going through ownership change and obviously coaching change and a lot of roster overhaul as well. So we kind of waited to myself, management, and the people close to me making the decision. Just waited to see how that would look like in the landscape. And, when it did come time to make the decision, Adelaide I felt was a really good situation for me. Obviously, I was working out with Coach Gorgon a lot and became really close with him. I called him a couple of days ago, actually. So we're still in contact and communicate. But just talking to Coach Henry and Adelaide situation, I just felt really comfortable there because they had a new coach and similar situation to Illawarra with and a roster change and stuff like that. But just their vision for where they wanted to go and what they wanted to establish kind of aligned with mine, trying to reach the championships and keep growing that way. So I was really excited about that. And, like you said, I was going to be a really big piece in their vision moving forward. And that excited me as well. But yeah, so it was actually a tough decision in the end. Came down to a lot of factors, but just being comfortable. And last year was, a bit of an up and down year with the Hawks and stuff of that nature. So I was looking forward to just a fresh start and just seeing how this journey with Adelaide would play out in the next 3 years, and hopefully push for the championship, in my time there.
It's certainly looking like an exciting roster. Adelaide's certainly an unbelievable place to play when things are going, like the crowd, the noise, they get right behind, kind of like Perth with football and whatnot, but you have a lot of fun playing there. Is there anyone specific on that team? Obviously, there's a lot of changes, but you're looking forward to play with. I know probably love playing with DJ because anytime you throw him the ball, it's going to be a bucket. But is there anyone that you're excited to run with and be able to play and work with every day?
Yeah, a lot of those guys, to be honest, Gibbo. I think we've got a really exciting roster and guys who are willing to get after it every day, which is awesome for me because I think I've got guys there who are hungry and wanting to prove themselves and a bit of a chip on their shoulder as well. And that's something, it's some good energy you want to have when it comes to playing. Been working out with Josh Giddey a fair bit, so excited to get on the court with him and Dan Dillon. But Keanu Pinder, so we're childhood friends. We grew up playing for the same junior club in East Perth and kind of followed each other's careers. And yeah, he grew up 5 minutes down the road, so we'd hang out nonstop when we were younger. And that's someone who, when I found out he signed, I was just super excited. I was like, wow, we get to chuck the ball around again like we were kids again.
Oh, it's awesome. I had no idea about that. I mean, you see, guys like Nick Kay and Mitch Norton who have played together forever, and their connection they have, there's no reason why you two can't kind of have that same thing in Adelaide. That'll be a lot of fun. And like I said, the great young roster. Connor's been in the league before. Adelaide's a great place to play, so you'll have a lot of fun there for sure. You got called up to the Boomers squad and then were a part of the Boomers team. Every kid's dream is to play for the country and represent the green and gold. That must have been a pretty special honour to be picked for the Boomers and play that first game.
Yeah, it was. It was an unbelievable experience. To be honest, I took my mind back to a couple of years when I just come back from college, and I was sitting down with Adam Ford and we're just doing some goal setting. You know, I think the Boomers was the one that he brought up to me, and I was kind of like, oh, look, that's a bit of a stretch, mate. I mean, I don't even have a contract right now, but he was like, no, why not? Like, if you keep working, you know what I mean? You've got the skill set that can make an impact. And just when that played out, you know, he was one of the first guys I called, you know, behind my family. I was like, look, man, I got the call up, and he was super excited for me as well. And it was just unreal experience, and to experience it with a lot of my Hawks guys who had been through the fire with that year was even more special. And it's every kid's dream to play for the green and gold, you know, and to have that play out and against guys like Shea and Ruben and Robin Jordan, who I'd played with in New Zealand as well, was you know, was even better as well. But it's something, you know, I'll cherish and hopefully can keep improving and, you know, keep knocking on that door for years to come.
That was almost like a Wellington Saints reunion out there on court with both teams. First, you remember first points, or did you get presented your singlet by anyone? I know, like major tournaments that happens. I'm not sure if it still does now, but did anyone, you know, kind of present you with your singlet and do all that stuff?
Yeah, my singlet got presented by CJ Bruton, and it was pretty cool actually, because when I'd come back from college, I'd, you know, worked out in Cairns and then flew down and worked out with Brisbane, and he was kind of the guy who was there with me. Him and Mick Downer were there with me for the couple of days I was in Brisbane, and it was just cool to form a relationship with him and kind of just, you know, I would play against him and just talk to him throughout the years, and just to be presented by him, an assistant coach and an Aussie great as well, was something pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, what a guy to present your singlet to. He's an unbelievable player for not just NBL, Australia. One of my great mates that I grew up idolising, got to play with and learn a lot off him, like you did with Damo. So that's pretty awesome. Now, I know this is something you're pretty passionate about. Obviously, mental health is a big issue, not just now because of COVID, probably more so now because of COVID, but just in general. And I know a bunch of you guys from the South Sudanese community. I think Joe, Kwani, Mango, Dengadel, and yourself put the video out about, you know, it's okay to not be okay. I just want to explain a little bit about that. And I think one of your great friends or close friends, Abraham, died, and just around the whole awareness of you don't have to be tough and strong. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable and ask for help. Talk me through how that's all kind of going.
Yeah, no, it came about last week. You know, we'd heard one of our great friends, Abraham, took his life to mental health. You know, I think it's always been an issue, but in times of COVID, it's kind of just heightened everything. And he was going through a tough time. And, you know, Abraham, we would never have thought would be the one to, you know, take his own life, which kind of just goes to show that it could affect anyone and everyone. And, you know, using our platform, myself and all the other athletes you mentioned, we kind of had the initiative to put something together to put awareness out there, because it does affect everyone, and especially in our South Sudanese community. You know, it's something that's taboo and not talked about. You're considered weak if you do talk about your feelings and emotions, and it's something that we want to just bring attention to, because times are changing, you know, and it's okay to not be okay. And it's a message that we hope reaches everyone. And, you know, if it saves one life, it's done what we intended it to do. And no one should be taking their life, you know, to going to the extent of mental health, which goes to show that if they are going to those measures, that they're really struggling. So, which is, what we wanted to just put out there was just check in on your friends and family. You never know what your message could mean to someone and what it could do for them, you know, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And we've just created a big group, which we Zoom weekly, just checking on our friends and family, seeing how they're doing, chatting with a lot of guys who have influence within our community, and just seeing how they're going, where they're at. Because like you said, in times of COVID right now, everyone's in isolation, in solitude in Melbourne, and times are even tougher with guys losing their jobs and stuff like that, and not being able to provide for their family, which is probably a big pillar in their life beforehand. So we hope it reaches as many people as possible, and we continue the good work that we're trying to do right now.
Obviously, I'm sure you're seeing Paddy Mills and a group of high-profile athletes started the We Got You campaign, kind of very similar stuff. It must feel pretty special for not just yourself, but the rest of you guys that are in the NBL that also unbelievable players in the NBL, to have that influence and try and filter that down to the younger generation, to send these messages, to let people know it is okay to be vulnerable and kind of ask for help. And for you guys to be role models, it must feel pretty special as well to know that you can influence and try and influence and help these younger kids out.
Yeah, it does. You know, I think there's, in our community, personally, there's a disconnect from the parents who were born in Africa and kind of came out here for their kids, because they've obviously experienced two different worlds, one of trauma, and then coming here trying to transition was really tough for them. And then the second wave is the kids who are born in Africa, like myself, who come over here and try to adapt and get used to the Australian culture. And then the big disparity is from the Sudanese kids who are born here, who don't understand what their parents have gone through, you know, the stuff that they've experienced in their life to get them to where they are. So they're coming from two different worlds, and that's where just the communication breakdown happens mostly for us. And we're just trying to help mend that bridge and trying to bridge that gap a little bit, you know, because in our culture, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's not talked about, and hopefully this conversation can start something bigger, you know, much like Paddy with the We Got You campaign, and a close friend of mine, Greg Hire, with a Stitch in Time as well around mental health and youth. So that's like you touched about, you know, it's something that we hope can continue, and something that just gets the conversation started. You know, just conversation can lead to great things, but without it, or without someone breaking the ice, you never know the potential of it.
Oh, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. It's massive. It's a massive issue. Anything that we can do as a league in general to try and help, you know, I guess speed up, you know, all this stuff will make a massive difference. But I think it's just shows character of yourself and these other guys to make a stand and make a point of it, and use your influence to try and affect change. So I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and I'm glad you're able to talk about and share a little bit about it, and just, like I said, raise awareness. So yeah, I think it's awesome work, mate. That's all I had for you, man. I appreciate you taking time. I know you want to go and see the end of that Lakers game. I won't wreck the surprise and tell you who wins that game. But, mate, I love your game. I think you're a young version of myself that's more athletic and can jump a little bit higher. But all the best in Adelaide. You definitely got the right head on you, and super smart, and I think you'll do great things there. So all the best for the season. Obviously not against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, but
I know your players. I've trained with you guys.
But man, all the best. Hopefully you get out of this lockdown soon, so you can kind of get over to Adelaide and start working, man. But once again, all the best, man. Really appreciate it, and good luck in Adelaide.
No, thanks for having me, Gibbo. It was awesome. Anytime, man. Happy to jump on, and hopefully we can get back to doing what we love best, and get on the court again.
Awesome. You have a good day, man, and we'll catch up soon.
You too, mate. See you, Gibbo.